live from the studios of Real Life Matters with your incredible host, DBoss, as she brings you entertainment, fashion, music, and interviews right here live at Real Life Matters. And here we go. Sit back and relax, cause we good to go. And we about to hit you off with the TV show. And we keeping it live, and we keep it brand new. And now we about to hit you with the interview. Yeah, we keeping it real, and we put it on the platter. What we talking about? Real Life Matters. Certified, never taking a loss. And here's your host, DBoss.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of Real Life Matters. And I just hope everybody has all what they want to do for the year, because we're in April now, and now is the kickoff. So hope everybody's got their resolutions, what they made that they're going to do in 2026, and they just follow through now. And if not, just tweak it up, because you're still in April. You can do this. It's after Easter and it's after Passover. So you guys still have time to get all your plans and everything that you want to do, get done for 2026. And also I want to say to everybody, keep doing their 15 minutes or more of laughing, because that's helping you. That releases stress. That keeps you looking youthful. It takes off pounds off of your your abdomen. But I'm not saying you stop going to the gym. Keep going to the gym and keep doing what you have to do, because some people have a little more pounds than others. So we have to keep doing that. And also, it's good for the whole family. It's not just for one person. You can do it with everybody. You turn around, the next 15 minutes is finished. Or you could turn on something, you could watch something, and all that, and everything is good. But today I got somebody a little different here today coming on. And he's a head curator. He's a president. He's of the Canadian Multicultural Inventors Museum, which is CMIM. And we're going to find out about his whole journey, because I want him to tell the journey, not me to tell all the journey. I'm just going to sit back and digest it all, because he's done so much, in Canada and and all the causes that he represents. So with no further ado, let's get right into it with Francis Jeffers.
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to come here with the boss and just share with you about, coming from the lovely island of Dominica straight to Toronto.
Wow. See, people, he knew the culture. He knew the culture, because we always ask the question where everybody comes from. And I guess it's a smaller island. Is a particular area that you're...
I am from the capital, Rosa Dominica. Now, I know everybody always say they're from the capital of whatever place they are, but I was actually born in Rosa Dominica, the native island of the Caribbean. So, and an area of one of the fastest growing tourism, especially ecotourism programs in the West. It's a lovely island. If you haven't been, you got to come. It is very different from the rest of the island. It's volcanic, right? We have no white sandy beaches, so don't come for that. You come to have nature. It's black sand. We actually have one white sandy beach, is around 100 meters. That's it, right? The rest is black sand, but it has an amazing eco history, in the sense of that it's the only island in the Caribbean with a boiling lake, and there's only two boiling lakes in the world, two big boiling lakes in the world. The largest one is in New Zealand, and the second largest one is in Dominica. But
so you don't go in there, right? You don't swim in there.
No, you can't swim. It's a lake, but you can't swim in it. It's boiling. It's literally boiling. You put an egg in it, and it's volcanic. It's a volcano. It's volcanic. Okay. But what is fascinating about it, because very few people in the world have gone to both boiling lakes. And one of the things I would want to do was to...
So what do people go there? Just have picnics, or just to go see it?
No, it's a trek to go there. It's very difficult to get there. It's a trek, a 2.5 hour trek, a 2.5 trek into the boiling lake, a 2.5 hour trek out.
So you're driving, or you're...
Oh, you're walking, you're trekking.
What?
You're trekking through the bush, real bush forest.
Oh my God.
And then you go into the valley of desolation, where there is Geyspers, sulfur springs, and you can actually go and just pick up sulfur
Rocks, yeah,
material,
the
and
pieces.
you can rub your skin, and you work for maybe like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, and then you wash it out, and you just see how your skin looks. It's actually legal. It's a World National Heritage Park.
So you got to walk for 2.5 hours and then come 2.5 hours back.
Out, yes. And then you go on.
That's made for the fit people. If you're.
Yeah. So what Dominic is actually doing marvelous things, right? They're actually gonna have a tram.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So that for people who want to go there, because I doubt 15% of Dominicans have been to the Boiling Lake, because most people don't take the trek in. But I've done it. I've done it twice.
You've done it twice, so that's 5 hours out.
Yeah. No, it's just amazing. And then
so they have restaurants up there, so you could sit down.
No, there's bush.
Oh
no, you
can't even say I'm gonna hang out.
No, you come there. The trek is amazing. I mean, if you're a little adventurous, I mean, on the way there, there's two little pools, right? One is cold fresh water that you can actually drink.
Wow.
And then the next one is a hot sulfur water that is just amazing. So it is incredible. But I think everybody should look it up. Is the Boiling Lake in Dominica. Okay. It is very actually,
and they have to be fit, people. That's important.
Yes. What is interesting
is telling you have to be fit, because you're going to have to be walking through some
I mean, the reality is you have to be fit. I mean,
it's hot.
And when it's going through the rainforest kind of thing, and then when you come to the Boiling Lake area, you hang around for a while, and you see the lake down there. You can't go there because if you go in there, they'll have to get a helicopter to take you out. And you won't be staying in Dominica. They'll take you right to Guadeloupe or Martinique, where you're going to get treatment, because you're going to get serious burns.
Burned.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but I had the pleasure of going to New Zealand to see the one in New Zealand, the largest one. But this is in the national park, which is pretty gorgeous now. But it's very commercial. So you walk in 15 minutes from the gates and you see So it took away some of the excitement, because the Dominica one is so... I mean, it's a job, it's a feat. It takes you, by the time you go in and out and come back, you're tired. You're not going
obviously.
You're not going anywhere that evening.
Nothing.
You're done. You're gonna just rest.
And then you also was telling me off air that you lived in Barbados too.
Yes, yeah, I'm totally a Caribbean person. My dad was from Trinidad. He lived in St. Vincent, so our family in St. Vincent. My stepfather is Bajan, so I live in Barbados. Both sides of my family, they were from Montserrat. So everywhere in the Leeward Islands, Montserrat and Kitts, Antigua, is family. I married a Jamaican at one point, so
he's all over. This is a man that's been all over.
My first wife was Guyanese, so
I
have family from Guyana to Jamaica.
Oh my gosh!
So when people tell me about they're going to this island and things are different, I cannot relate to anything that they're talking about, because the Caribbean is the Caribbean for me. It's the same. The history is roughly the same. You might call things a different name. They have a slightly different accent. If you're in Dominica or St. Lucia or Martinique and Guadeloupe, you're going to talk to Creole, right? Or you're going to talk French. So to me, hey, the Caribbean is, And I love mass, so I go to carnival anywhere I can. I play mass anywhere.
So what don't you do?
I dance every weekend. So when the age of 16, I've more or less dance every weekend.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what led you? Now, you see, reason we were asking those questions because now, you know, he has a different life and he's a part of history and he's a part of a lot of culture. So what caused you to go into the career of a biochemist?
Oh, I didn't choose that career by
you didn't?
No. So growing up in Dominica, I came to Canada when I was 16. I mean, when I left, just before I left Dominica, my intention was actually to finish my last year of high school, then go to University of the West Indies, do history and political science or something like that. Come back to Dominica, maybe get into teach, maybe get into politics. My dad was a politician in Dominica. He was the first cohort of Black representation in the political system in Dominica. So I grew up with that. He was also a businessman. So I fully expected to do things in Dominica. Then my mother decided to come to Canada. So I came to Canada. And then when I came in, they said, well, okay, they put me in grade 12. So you have one more year to stay. And I said, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to study Caribbean history and West Indian politics in Canada. So I said, where do you have jobs? And they said, about science. I said, okay, well, I'll do science.
Okay.
And but the interesting part,
you got to be good at math to do science. So,
well, I was okay.
Okay, people, he's okay. When you hear what he's gonna be, what he does, and when he can't, then you say he's okay.
but what really influenced my life really was that my second day in school here, I saw this amazing young lady who was drop dead gorgeous. And I thought, this country is cold, because I came in November. I said, this place is cold. It seems inhumane to be living in a freezer. But she brought light, you know what I mean? So I spoke to the first guy I became friends with, and actually we're still friends today.
Wow.
And I said to him, I would really like to talk to this lady, and he said, you know, well, there's a school dance next Friday, and you should come to the school dance. And I thought, whoa, okay. So all week I practiced in front of the mirror. I was doing my lean back, I was rocking my steps and everything like that. You know, by Thursday, my mother was fit to be tied. She said, this is not why I brought you to Canada. You come here to study and get an education. You know, Caribbean mothers, right? You know, like,
yes.
And you in this dancing business in the front of the mirror all the time. I said, Mommy, I just practice it. I got to have my best.
But back then you had to practice. You couldn't go out and not know how to dance.
Yeah. Because especially
because everybody be looking at you funny, you know, like you don't know how to dance. You don't know the latest dance.
And I hadn't gone to any parties in Toronto, so I didn't know how people flex. You know what I mean? I was accustomed to my jump up and whine and all kind of stuff, Dominica way. So I went to the party. I think it's the first time and maybe the only time I went to a party that early, to be like in the first 4 or 5 people at the party. So my friends said, "Oh, you want to go so early?"
But Toronto was like that back then at that time.
Yeah. But
nothing started late.
Yes, I went to the party and I'm doing my thing, my stuff, and then this young lady walked into the doors, and I don't know if anybody, well, for the old heads, if one remembers, in TV sometimes they have people walking in slow motion, they run into each other together. It felt like that, but it's maybe all in my mind, but it felt like that because she was just walking and she was floating. I don't think I saw her actually touch the floor. But when she came up, you know, she said hello, because we have a group of us dancing, and she said, "Hello, Francis," and I said, "Hi," you know, and then I'm dancing a little bit, and she says, "I didn't know you could dance." Now I just came up from Dominica,
right?
And for somebody to watch me and ask if they don't know whether there's something. I've never heard somebody ask a Dominican whether they could dance. I'm sure maybe there's people in Dominica who cannot dance, but I don't know. Right. But I was living the stereotype, right? So I'm thinking, And I thought, for anybody who knows Spanish, at first thing I thought, la cabeza es bobo, which means, in my head, she's stupid, very pretty, but
Yeah.
very stupid. What kind of question is that? So I said, what kind of question is that? What do you mean by that? She said, well, I know you're taking science in class and you wear glasses. And I thought, whoa. So all of a sudden I'm a super nerd. You know what I mean? Oh my Lord. I was stunned. I was stunned. And I thought, I was so disappointed. It's just like she just dissipated in front of my eyes. You know what I mean? And I just thought, whoa. I
Oh,
remember, I remember going and my mother asked me, how was the thing? And I said, I don't know. I wasn't too impressed. Because I'm thinking like, I couldn't understand it.
it
But
wasn't all that.
yeah, but when I went to school Monday morning and I went to my class, all of a sudden, looking around me, I realized I was the only black male in my science classes. In my
Wow.
physics class, my chemistry class, and my um, you know, um, grade 12 math class. I was shocked, and I realized because I had never had that experience before. Because Dominica is 98% people of African descent.
Okay.
So, and people of all different and everybody does what they do. Classic people who look like you or versions of
Hmm.
you. So if you some do math, some good in English, some do good in geographies, whatever they want to do, that is their choice. That's nothing to do with how they look, their color, whatever they show.
Nothing.
You know what I mean? So it then dawned on me that this young lady wasn't stupid. It's just that the environment that she grew up in was very different from mine. I grew up in a very empowered family. My dad was a headmaster. Um, um, all my friends was doing their thing. You know what I mean? So race and color and social status for me didn't mean anything as such. Um, there's colorism in the Caribbean, like in most of the Caribbean. But like for me, the issue of relating color to education and to science and
Wow.
achievement was not something I grew up with, right? Because of my role models was, and that time, being a child of the 60s, was, coming out of the civil rights movement and reading, learn about the civil rights movement. Um, my hero is Malcolm X, right?
Okay.
And Kwame Ture. And so my models were very firmly Afrocentric, very proud people. So,
Okay.
but she had never met a young black man doing science, right? So I realized there's a gap there. So that's why I thought,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? I should just talking to my friend, his name is Akwatu, and we talked and stuff like that. And he used to hang out at the Harriet Tubman Center. And so I went down there with him, and then we started to volunteer in the Black community. My first volunteer was with the Black Education Project, which is a project, the Toronto District School Board, an after-school program for Black kids, especially the Caribbean kids. So that started my journey into education and especially related to the concept of Black employment, etc. So when I went to university, I met some other friends there, and again there was very few young blacks doing science. There's been doing every other subject, but not a lot doing science. So we all used to hang out together and talk. We had an association, a Black Students Association. That time it was called the Third World Students Association. And
Okay.
so we started hanging out, and then we decided that we should start a program helping Black kids, in Scarborough with after school lessons and stuff like that. So that started that journey. And then so I was going to go doing science, but actually I got an opportunity to look at science and how it relates to community empowerment, and community building, etc., which really made me happy because all but I found what I wanted to do, which was
Wow.
to take the science, which wasn't my first choice, right? Because my degree was in biochemistry, but also my minor was in political science, right? So I got to mix my science and my politics and talk about, if you're going to do community engagement, then we also have to deal with science literacy. We also have to deal with things that are changing, that's going on, and bring the science and political change and community change together. So that's how I got into the world of doing of science, and then I went into the pharmaceutical field. I worked for Canada.
Ah,
Yeah. When I graduated, I mean, I sent out like 200 applications. I couldn't get a job, and
you couldn't get
I couldn't get, I couldn't get an interview.
it's not even the job; it's the interview.
I couldn't get an interview. You know what I mean? I remember eventually I got one interview, and it was in Fort Erie.
Fort Erie. Oh my gosh!
And I had to trek. I trek all the way down to Fort Erie. The guy had like a pH meter and a balance, and he told me then I didn't have enough Canadian experience. So, I mean, it's a rudimentary lab as you could get. And the guy says, well, I guess he didn't really want to give me the job, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, but that was the life, right? I mean, the fact that you come out, you graduate looking for jobs, it wasn't easy. But
okay, so Francis, you're being compared to a lot to William Pepton Hubbard. Yeah. Tell us about that. Why they're doing that comparison?
Hubbard was amazing, right? I mean, that was really amazing when I got to learn about William Hubbard, who came up here with his family. They came from the South, and his parents was he came up, well, kind of the Underground Railroad kind of thing, but like they were free blacks, and they came to Canada and settled in Toronto. And because of the free black, they had a bit of they were able to do a bit more. And William grew up in Toronto and decided to drive taxi. Actually, he started to drive. He became a driver, not drive taxi. He became a driver for a wealthy person, and he was also a baker. So William, and William continued to be a baker, and you're looking for different jobs, to help you pay your bills and all that kind of stuff. But he also became an inventor because he invented an oven called the Hubbard oven, right?
Okay.
So, and as a politician, then he decided in having the conversations with the guy who was driving.
Well, what kind of oven is that? The Hubbard oven?
It's just a regular baking oven at the time where at the time where put the bread in and but was
that kind of oven. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a solid, well-built oven. I mean that he that he invented. It was a bona fide oven that was sold, that you could it was from a business point of view. And then and having conversations with the gentleman that he was driving, he got to learn about civic affairs in Toronto. And decided that he wanted to get into the political arena, and was encouraged to, and became a councilman in the Toronto Council, and grew in stature in terms of the work that he did, and he actually headed the committee. They set up a commission to look into building an Ontario Hydro organization. So he was part of he led the committee that led to the creation of the Ontario Hydro Commission.
Wow.
Right. So what it shows in that, and we always get excited to talk about, is the fact that from the time people of African descent landed in Toronto, they were pretty industrious. They got involved. They were involved in community. We're talking about in Southwest Ontario, where the families were got into farming in Chatham, Buxton, and all of these places, and Amherstburg, and and they got involved with the community. They built community. There are towns that were in Ontario that were started by Black folks. They went all the way up to Collinwood, right? Mm-hmm. And the people were industrious, and they worked hard because they wanted to see the best for their children, right?
Okay.
There was like Josiah Henson, who we call Uncle Tom, which is a misnomer when you talk about the life of Josiah Henson, in that he started the first industrial school, like a trade school for young Black people, and mentored them so that they could get into the trades, get into farming and all of this kind of stuff. So our legacy in Toronto is as good as anybody else's own. We have not,
Wow.
I mean,
you hear that, people?
We've been in Canada since 60. The first person who came to Canada was Martin de Costa, that we know of. And he came somewhere between 1604 to 1608. We're not exactly sure
Exactly the time frame.
But we know in 1608, there's a contract written where he's doing some transactions, and there's a contract where his name is on it. And he was an interpreter for the Europeans, working with the indigenous peoples. And it begs the question, if he was an interpreter for the Europeans, and how did he learn the indigenous languages? So it means it's either he was here before.
He had to be here. He had to be fair to learn that language.
Or he met up. He was traveling somewhere where he met indigenous people, and there was some language exchange there. But it's an interesting story. The story still has to be a lot more research to know exactly when he came, etc. But it's a fascinating story. So if anytime anybody meets any person of African descent, I tell them, go back on the boat or go back on the place where they come from. I mean, there's just nobody can tell. The only person who can tell you that would be an indigenous person.
Right. But Toronto was a tough place before, because even when we came from Montreal, and we came in the late 80s, or people were coming from Montreal before that, leaving. Toronto was a tough place. It was a really tough place for people of color descent. You really had to prove yourself, because I was telling somebody the other day that I remember if somebody like me, looked like me, or somewhere in the office like me, they would put that person way in the other corner, that you wouldn't even see people unless you came out for lunch, or maybe you you brought up on them in the hall. But people didn't understand. What do you mean? I said, well, that's what they did. Or if it was a Spanish person, or they wouldn't really have you guys all together.
Yeah.
And I experienced that here myself. So I was just like, and a lot of people, and they said, geez, oh my God, there's a Black person or somebody over there. You know what I mean? But you don't see them, because then, or they have you hidden away somewhere.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't know if you experienced that also.
Well, I can relate. I'll give you one little story. I was second year in university, and I had a part-time job as a mail clerk at the Fairview Mall. And I used to go back and forth, and so it was a summer job, right? So and it paid all right for a summer job. So the senior mail clerk was leaving. So one of the other some of the workers there asked me, "Oh, why didn't you take that job?" I said, "For the mail clerk job." They said it's a good career. It's a good career. And I said, well, so I said, look, I have nothing against mail clerk. It's a bona fide job. People are making a living, right?
Right.
And so I'm going to school to do sciences, and you're telling me I should quit
and go
and become the mail clerk,
the senior mail clerk.
Yeah, and what is interesting too was that it shows how sometimes when people don't communicate in the workplace sometimes, because the guy who was the senior mail clerk happened to be a retired guy who was a former businessman, and he was retired, and he just wanted something to do. So
that's what he was doing.
Yeah, so he and I would always talk, and we talk about we'd have conversations about enterprise and business and stuff like that. But they didn't even know, and he was a white guy, but they didn't even know that the guy was a businessman. Yeah, I mean, because they just saw him as a mail clerk. So they kind of made this thing of what the mail clerk is, right? And then they asked me, want to be a mail clerk? I said, no, I don't really want to be the mail clerk. I said, it'd be kind of tough for me to go home to a Caribbean mother and said, I'm quitting
I'm a
university to
mail clerk.
be a mail clerk. I said, I'd have no front teeth. so,
No.
so I said, but these are the kind of things, because that's where they thought that for them was a good career move for me, right? And I said to them, no, there's nothing wrong with being a mail clerk. But at this point in time, I'm looking at a different career option, right? And they were kind of surprised. Oh, you're doing science, okay? So, but I mean, but these are kind of stereotypical ways of people looked at people and how they made judgments in terms of what your success parameters are, or should be, what your goals are, and it kind of that, do you know your place, right?
Yeah.
So, but
so this is how you came in to find the vision of sciences.
Well, yeah, because I thought, well, okay, if this is the kind of, if people are not even understanding about their own history, and if a lot of young people, and like talk about the young lady that I met, then you need to understand that the history of African people, and that, and since I'm in the sciences, my testing was, do they know the history of people of African descent in science, right? And so then therefore I thought, okay, let's have a science club, because less than 5 at the time, when I started, that's around 50 years ago. I mean, less than 5% of Black students were going into the sciences.
Wow.
If you're indigenous, there was less than 1% of people.
Wow.
If you're from a poor social economic background, maybe between 4 and 8% of people was going. So to me, obviously there had to be a change. And then the question is then why people are not going into science, because they don't know they don't see themselves in it. It's nice for somebody to come and tell you, you can be an astrophysicist, but if you've never seen somebody, like if you're in a house that is not very empowered, you don't see anybody who looks like that, you don't hear this.
You don't want to be that.
Then you don't think about that. So
everybody can't be an actor, a sports player. Absolutely. So I had people on the program, and they said there's only a small percentage of people get picked. So what happens when you don't get picked? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Or what are you gonna do when that short sports career lifespan ends? What are you gonna? You don't have a backup.
And that's what we tell young people, that if you, I meet so many young kids who want to be basketball players. I said, yes, of course, an NBA career is great, but I said your chances of making the NBA is less than your chances of being hit by lightning twice.
Right. That's true.
Right. So think about the odds. So I'm saying to the young people, I'd say cover your bets by getting an education.
Yeah.
So because if you can walk and chew gum, you can play basketball and be a scientist.
Yeah, that's it. And if you get it, then you can always come back.
You are the one. So like you're not one, you only have one parameter of who you are, one sense of who you are.
Yeah. Because there's a guy that said that I had on the show here, is Californian, and he lives in California, and he said that 30,000 people come in to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them end up being homeless. They can't live nowhere. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a backup, nothing. Yeah. And most of them end up going back home. Yeah. But some of them are so stubborn that they end up homeless on the street because they didn't have a backup. And then what he's trying to do is empower the people to hey, you have to have a backup. You just can't, I want to be an actor, I want to be a model. Yeah. How many people doing that? How many people get selected? There's only so much movies.
Mm-hmm. And you see it, right? I mean, earlier conversation when I asked you about, about the various careers you have, and I talked to young people, I said, in reality, these days, the chances are in your lifetime, you'll have at least 5 different careers at minimum.
Yeah.
Because as you evolve and things are changing, you got to go roll with the changes. You got to roll it, and you have to sometimes reinvent yourself, but you have to move forward. Sometimes you have to move laterally in order for you to move forward, or sometimes you have to take a step back. So life is not linear. I mean, there's all kinds of permutations of who you're going to be, And the interest of what these things that you have is the kind of things that you need to rely on to make yourself happy. So,
Yeah.
you can play sports and still do a business, still do whatever you want. But
Yeah. And they can come out. Most of them do, or you're doing a business the same time you're playing these sports, because
absolutely.
it's only a certain, maybe 10 years or so.
Mhm.
And that's over, because you only can go, your body can only take so much of that for so long.
Yeah. And so one of the things we found in our science club was when the kids were doing an experiment, if they do an experiment about, say, blood or microbiology, we get them to research a scientist or inventor who looks like them in the same field related to the experiment that they're doing. So all of a sudden, if you're doing something about space, then then research a astronaut or cosmonaut who looks like you, and we noticed then that the kids, because they saw the representation, they saw themselves, and when they hear the story about the person, they realize this person was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They did what they have to do because they had a passion or for something, and they found their way. So we realized that there's this connection between seeing that, and so then therefore, when I no longer run, I did the science clubs for like 25 years. We won the national award for science promotion.
Yes.
We're still the only organization of color that ever won the highest national award for science promotion. And
the stem cell, right? Is it STEM?
Yes, a STEM, yeah. And so then I wanted to I wanted to take early retirement. I wanted to go live on the continent. I had to go live in Africa.
All right. So I have one question for you. How does space travel and research relate to us here on Earth?
In every single way possible. I think people see it as we live in a very exciting times. The last space mission, that trip to the moon, the orbit of the moon, was extremely important to us. The reality of life is, no matter how you cut it, we are going to live in other planets, in other spots. And the chances that there's in all the galaxies in the world, in the universe, that there's only one that is suitable for humans, to me, doesn't fundamentally make sense. The reality is that we are going to be going into space. We're going to spend more time in space. Anything you thought about that was science fiction 50 years ago, we can do. There's not much that we can't do.
Okay.
People don't always hear about it, but the work is being done. So the question is, the next frontier will always be space, and also in the ocean, because that frontier is a whole other frontier. What is believed beneath us in the oceans is a whole other world that we're still trying to come to grips with, and we will be.
Yeah, because they're saying there's openings and stuff, and people are getting in there.
There's all kinds of things, right? So therefore, but the thing is, every time we do research, that you can go travel to far off places, we are coming up with innovations and inventions that can be that provide solutions for some of the things we live in Earth on, and that we get to experience, right? So the one of the important things is that too is also the issue of diversity in space, right? So the last space mission, it showed the diversity. There was a woman. There was also a brother who went to space. No, these are important, because when people go into space, we need to know all what affects them. And if the model would only be a European, it wouldn't make sense, right? Because we need to know the impact of gravity on them, being in long space trips. This space trip was not very long, and this is the furthest that we've been in space. The reality is that not too long, not too far future, we will be sending people on journeys where they'll be traveling for years. This is just a reality. right?
So would you want to go?
Science fiction. I have no desire to go. I'm claustrophobic. I'm claustrophobic. I cannot
Me
go into
too.
that little thing. By the time the rocket go up, I'm gone. I'm done. I'm meeting my creator one shot. And
Okay.
right. But it's the amazing thing about science is that there's all kind of people in it. We want all kinds of people to get into it because
Okay.
there's a place for everybody in everything. Mae Jemison, who was the first Black woman in space, just an amazing person. I mean, right now she leads a team of people working on space travel. In her team, there's fashion designers, there's dentists, there's people from every field. Because basically what they're
Wow.
looking at is that when they head off into outer space on long trips, they need all kinds of skill sets and create all kinds of materials, all kinds of inventions that allow people to live, right? So
Okay.
all her team focuses on is long distance space travel. And it's
Okay.
fascinating, right? Because there's all these ideas that people have. Because eventually people are gonna live. And I mean, we will live on we'll set up base on the moon, we will set up base on Mars. And there's
Okay.
planets that we don't know of. So it's an exciting time for science, technology. We have AI. There's all kinds of new things happening. Everything's happening so quickly. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people because handling change is not always easy. But this is the world we live
Okay.
in. And for young people, there is tons of opportunity, right? It mightn't happen
All
overnight.
right. So what now you're retired and you're doing stuff. So now what is your ultimate goal that you want to achieve now and moving forward?
So my first organization was Visions of Science, of the science clubs. After I left, I passed it on to a young African scientist. It's now $1 million organization, right?
Okay.
For the Canadian Multicultural Inventors Museum, I want to take it national. That's my next thing. It's primarily Toronto based. We want to take it national. It's an organization that celebrates our Canadianness. We capture the history of all people of all different backgrounds and their contributions to innovation, right? And that's what people of African people do. If we're the first people, and scientifically is undoubted that we are the first people.
Yes.
Right? We are the ones that are going to help bring humanity back.
Yes.
That is just the reality of life.
I believe that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That melanin is not easy.
Mm-mm.
Not by accident. It's a powerful life source, an energy source. So therefore, in terms of all of these areas, we have to be involved. And as an organization, this is an organization that I run. I have the privilege to run right now. That is all about all Canadians of all backgrounds, no matter what's the size of your demographic, learning about themselves as the history of innovation, and so that their young people can continue to be Canadians of all backgrounds, sharing in this mission of building the best Canada. We are the greatest country in the world, and therefore we've made mistakes in the past. No, it's for the young people of all different backgrounds to come together and just continue to build and correct the errors and make a difference. I mean,
right.
That's what gets me excited to get up in the morning.
Well, you sound it.
Yeah.
And okay, so do you want to give any shout outs or kudos to people who have been with you for so long and with you in your journey?
I have give how long we'd have.
Well,
I've been so fortunate that there's been a lot of people, like mentors I've had. I guess when I think of everything, I mean, I have two heroes. My father, and Malcolm X. And what the thing about Malcolm X is the fact that he was continuously evolving right through his life.
Yes.
Change control was something that Malcolm X was clearly very superior at. And for me, that the question of evolving, I just turned 70. I'm excited. To me, there's new things for me to do after CMIM becomes, I pass on CMIM. And I said that's important passing on because it's very important in Black organizations that we have succession planning and that the
Yes.
organization, and that we do not own the organization, but the idea of the organization is to continue to grow and to build new leadership and move to another level, right? So I look forward to the day when I must say I had today is a good day. Before I spoke to you today, I interviewed a young sister from McMaster, and my hope is that she eventually takes over CMIM.
Amen.
Keeping my trust. I can't say her name, but I'm just the first day I had interviewing her to volunteer the organization, and she is Ghanaian and Caribbean heritage, right?
Wow.
I mean, so I am very pumped today, right? So I thank a lot of the people gone before, the William Howard of the world, the Elijah McCoy, and all the people who've gone before and created so much for us. And so therefore, celebrating you and talking to you is just an honor and privilege.
Thank you.
And
well, it's an honor talking to you and knowing you. So if people want to get a hold of you, or any questions or anything, where can they find you?
They can Google Canadian Multicultural and Inventors Museum, and we pop up right away. Or they can Google Francis Jeffers, but they have to say Francis Jeffers, Toronto. If you say Francis Jeffers alone, there's an English guy, a retired soccer player, who comes in front of me. Hopefully that's going to change one day. But but our website is multiculturalmuseums.com.
Okay.
So Google Multicultural Museums, and we will come up and go to our website. You'll see we celebrate life, we celebrate humanity, we celebrate Canadians, we celebrate people of all different backgrounds. And as a person of African descent, coming in Toronto, getting the opportunity to do the kind of things I want to do, I'm blessed. We're blessed.
So every day, so I guess you think like me, every day is Black History Day.
Every day is Black History Day.
I don't just put it, I understand it's in February, but I think every day
Black History is Canadian history, and it's world history, right? And so then therefore from the San people in South Africa to people from Kemet, who what they call Egypt right now. We've been, from day one, we've been innovating and creating a frame of mind, a culture, the vibrance. We absolutely dominate in terms of music and culture. The world beats to the drum of the African drum. Every music takes from us. From the banjo coming from West Africa to the Caribbean to North America, the steel pan being invented in Trinidad and Tobago and coming to Canada, where it was innovated by a Black Canadian, right? The history of innovation in Canada is solid. The Black contributions are solid, and please, hook us up. People can check us out, email us, ask us about information, see the things that
any kind of information. This is a whole knowledge of information. Francis Jeffers, it's just so much, and it's so interesting. And I hope you'll come back and tell us some more.
Anytime, and wishing a good summer. After the winter we have, wishing everybody a good summer. And I hope you'll see me jumping up at CaribVision if God spare my life. I'll be jamming in a band. So just come and say hi, Francis. Let's take a jam.
And well, I do want to thank you, Francis.
All the Bajans, and anybody hanging out in St. Lawrence in the Gap, I'll be there sometime.
Right. Okay, for crop over.
All right, take care then.
All right, but I do want to thank you, Francis Jeffers, for telling us your journey today. People, You know, as he told you, go to the website. You can reach out. He'll answer you, or somebody from the organization will answer you. You know, just go out there. He's got a flood of knowledge of information for you. So, you know, and if you're younger and you don't know what you want to do, you could ask him, you know, what field could you get into that's really could suit you, or people like me that are in there, or maybe you could be one of the first ones that are in there.
Come and volunteer with us. Come and volunteer with us.
Yeah.
We're doing all kinds of things. We're doing great stuff.
All right.
So
anyways, I do want to thank you, and I do want to thank all the viewers for tuning in with me here, and you know, Francis Jeffers, you know, and you know, it's been a great journey. If you all missed it, you guys got to go back and watch it. So, anyways, thanks. Good night, and bye for now.
Good night. All the best.
Goodbye.
All right, join us next time at Real Life Matters with your host, DBoss, as she bring you some more entertainment, fashion, music, and interviews right here on Real Life Matters. We got to go. Okay, that's it, we got to go. And we just hit you off with a TV show. And we kept it hot, and we kept it brand new. And we just hit you off with an interview. And we kept it real, and we put it on the platter. Talking about that real life matters. Certified, never taking a loss. And that was your host, DBoss.